It's the Family Digest Show with Daryl Mobley. On today's show, actor Blair Underwood and therapist Dr. Mishka Scales. Now, here's your host, Daryl Mobley.
Hello, friends. Thank you. Thank you all. Thanks, everyone, for coming. Listen, recently I spent time with actor, husband, and dad Blair Underwood. We talked about how to love a good woman. That's right, I said it, how to love a good woman. Now, who better to discuss this with than one of Hollywood's sexiest leading men and a most devoted husband? My talk with Blair was so deep that I've invited Dr. Mishka Scales, a licensed clinical therapist, to watch my conversation with Blair and give her thoughts on our discussion. Dr. Scales, welcome to the Family Digest Show.
Thank you.
Now, you excited about this? Two guys talking?
It's going to be interesting.
It's going to be interesting. Very good. I liked it. Okay, all right. Now, is it okay with you if I call you Dr. Mishka?
That's fine.
Sounds very informal. I like this sort of. Okay, all right, Dr. Mishka. Here we go. Okay, everyone, let's get started. Today I want to talk about women, more specifically, good women. And who better to talk about good women than one of the few men in Hollywood who is both a sex symbol and a happily married father. I'm speaking, of course, of Blair Underwood. Now, you know him, as do millions, by his TV and film work. You remember him on L.A. Law. You may have seen him recently as a love interest in Sex in the City. Currently, he's divorced to the title character in the Nick at Night program, Fatherhood. He tells me, though, all of that work, all of the time we've seen him on TV, he tells me his proudest accomplishment is maintaining the happy family life he has with his lovely wife and their 3 kids. Blair, thanks for being on the show.
Daryl, you're good. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Now, the interesting thing about Blair, the reason we're going to get into this whole notion of how to love a good woman is because I've known Blair long enough that he focuses a lot of attention on that. And today we're going to go through a lot of questions. We're going to get a lot of answers having to do with how to love a good woman. Before we get into that, Blair, how's the family?
Family's doing great.
Wife is fine?
Wife is fine.
Kids are growing?
Healthy, growing, happy.
Okay.
Getting into trouble. So,
getting into trouble.
Doing what kids do.
Doing what kids do.
That's right.
What I'm going to make sure we do today when we go through all of this is we're going to really dig deep. And I'm going to ask Blair questions that I bet you wouldn't answer if I asked you. Let me confess something. When I left college as a young man, I had absolutely no idea what a good woman was all about. I was a young guy, and I really was at the beginning of my own life trying to figure out what it meant to be a man. What about you? When you were younger, did you know then what you know now about good women?
Well, I tell you, I was very fortunate in that I grew up with a good woman, my mother.
Okay.
So really, I realized later in life that she really was a template in many ways to what a woman was that I was looking forward to get married to.
Okay. So are you saying you married a woman like your mother?
I think when it's all said and done, it turns out that I did in many ways. Yeah.
Okay. Now, did you have a conscious idea of what you wanted in a woman when you were younger, before you were married?
You know what, Daryl, the only thing that was conscious to me was I knew I did not want to settle down when I was, like, say, in college or high school.
Yeah.
So I knew I wanted to date. I knew I wanted to have, just explore and have a good time. That was important because, when you decide to finally settle down, when you decide to finally get married, you don't want to feel like you missed out on anything.
That's right. You drink all the wine you wanted to drink.
That's right.
You've done it all. And plus, as I told my wife, the good thing about it is I've done enough to know that you're the right one for me.
Well, exactly.
Exactly. You didn't show up new and say, "Oh, pick you."
I'm going to use that line, Daryl.
Please do. It works all the time. Now, do you, as I talk about it right now, and you think about the term good women, what would, if you could define a good woman, how would you define it?
Good woman in general or good woman for me or for...
good woman in general.
Depends on what you're talking about.
Good woman in general.
Good woman in general, I think, is a woman who's got a big heart. I think one who is, is dedicated to whatever she's dedicated to, but someone who's passionate about whatever they're passionate about. I think passion is one of the best, well, aphrodisiacs, of course, but I think passion is one of the most important elements.
Okay.
I think to character, someone who has a faith base.
Okay.
All those things. But then you got all kinds of different types of individuals, human beings, and women, of course.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, that good woman that I just defined may not be one who is a good woman for a mother, and that's one of the things I think we talked about before. When I met my wife, I knew she was a good woman.
Right. You said I hit the jackpot.
I hit the jackpot.
Twice.
I hit the lotto.
That's right. Twice.
I did.
That's right.
But that doesn't necessarily mean she'll be a great mother, as it turned out, and here we are a couple days from Mother's Day.
Okay. Yep.
That I feel like she has evolved into an extraordinary mother. But you never know that when you're dating.
When you're dating, you don't know it.
You don't know for sure.
Now, I'm going to ask you about that because I know people who make a list of what they're going to buy from the supermarket.
Yeah.
They make a list of where they're going to go on the weekend. They make a list of inane things.
Yep.
I actually made a list of what I wanted in a woman. After I had lived a bit, got a lot of experience, I said, you know, I'm looking for a woman. And I actually remember writing a list out. I would no grand plan, but I said, I'm going to make this list.
Yeah.
And I use that list.
Smart.
I use that list as the basis of which I judge whether I should date a woman or not. If I looked at a list of things and said, well, you know what, the fact is, at the end of the day, she's not a player. Then I said,
Right.
let me do her some good and me some good and back off, because you get caught up in passion and whatnot. You start doing things you don't want to do.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What do you think about this list thing?
I think it's a great idea. I think in fact, I know I did. I put a list together at one point. I knew, for instance, for me, smoking was out.
That's right.
I mean,
period.
Yeah, I just didn't want to deal with somebody who smoked. I don't drink, so I mean, if you want to drink, you know, that's cool. But just getting sloppy drunk all the time,
That's right.
that's a turn off to me. I didn't have a long list actually, but it was somebody, you know, somebody who was faithful, someone who didn't have to be out in the streets all the time. Okay. That's not me.
Why is it? Okay, there you go. Because it's not you.
Because it's not me.
Okay.
That's what I was going to say. More than anything, I think. And that's why I asked about the distinction between a good woman and a good woman for you. Because really, a good woman to me is someone who understands you. That's a good mate. Someone who can communicate with you, who has similar sensibilities, similar taste in music, similar taste in friends, similar taste in you know, how to spend your time, books. You know, all of those things.
So for you, the notion of opposites attracting, that doesn't.
No, opposites do attract at a certain point, but again, you know, what are we defining? We're defining having a good time.
I got you.
That's one thing. We're talking about spending a life with somebody. I think similarities come into play more so than the differences.
Dr. Mishka, Blair says that finding a good woman involves first finding a woman you have a lot in common with. Have you found that to be the case?
Generally, that tends to be true. Couples, pairings tend to occur mostly based on some similarity between them. That similarity, though, can occur on any number of dimensions.
Wait, so are you saying, so opposites do attract well, or is there?
I'd say to some degree they can, definitely. Often the similarities come in, it may be similar activities or interests. The similarity may be educational level, intelligence, socioeconomic status, religious beliefs. So as long as there is some kind of binding.
Levels. Okay, all right then. Sounds great. All right. When we come back, Blair is going to tell us how he knew his wife was a good woman. Stay with us. Welcome back. Listen, we're going to throw the ball back to my discussion with Blair when he tells us how he knew his wife was a good woman. We're also going to find out about the importance of finding a soulmate. Let's go. How did you know that your wife was a good woman? How that process, when you were going through the process with her, what signaled to you and said, you know what, she's the one?
She's smart.
She's smart.
She's very smart. Okay. Also, she's very business oriented.
Okay.
In her case, she was, you know, she was an administrator, and you know, she understands the administrative world. Okay. And my world is, I'm an actor. You know, my world is storytelling. So she, you know, I come from that creative side, and she comes from the more administrative side. So I needed that balance.
Okay. Now you say creative side. You come from a military family, right?
Right.
Where did the creativity come from in your family then?
My mother. My mother's an artist.
Okay.
She was a painter, and
back to your mother again.
Back to my mother again.
There you go.
Yeah, she was a painter and an interior decorator.
Okay.
So I know that creative streak came from her.
Okay. What was the best thing for you about finding that good woman? You know, when you knew it was her, she was smart. And
oh man.
All those things. What was the best thing for you about it? What did it change in you?
The best thing about finding my wife, who was that good woman, was being able to have that mate and that partner and that friend that you could be yourself with all the time. That's why I say it's really someone you can communicate with, because oftentimes, I think we talked about this before also. You know, in the dating scene, before you find that right one, you know, oftentimes you feel like you have to be on, or you're that host, or that you know, you try to be that guy. You want the date to go well, you want the relationship to go well, and with her, it just fit so well. She could be herself, I could be myself, and it still flowed.
I'm going to touch on something sensitive here, right?
Oh, I'll tell you. I'll let you know.
So, are you saying that when you get where you're very comfortable with each other, it's the kind of time? I think of it as a time when I can go to the bathroom with the door open, and my wife is outside and everything's okay. That's when you know. You're laughing about that, but you know it's true.
No, that is true.
When you get comfortable with each other, the door's wide open, things are happening, you're all in there.
All in there, Daryl. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Yeah, I mean, of course, that's the physical side of it, but I just mean just in terms of conversation. I mean in terms of not feeling like you have to, not being afraid of the pauses.
Okay.
Not being afraid to just kind of sit and be
Not
that
afraid
person.
of the pause. Okay.
And at the same time, not allowing that to become boring.
Okay.
Because I mean, we've been together 15 years now, and I'm learning something new about her every day.
Okay. And that's good. The
Yeah,
flower
that's a good
opening up,
thing.
right?
Yeah.
Opening up. Okay. Now, let me talk to you about that for a second. 15 years together. What kind of things, you've been doing it long enough now that I'm going to consider you an expert. Enough. Enough of an expert
Enough,
for the
okay,
conversation,
all
okay?
right.
What kind of things should a man be thinking about as he interacts? You get into the groove now. You're 15 years, you got kids, you got life. What are day to day, day in and day out, what kind of things should a guy be thinking about as he's interacting with this good woman? He's been with her now all these years.
What should he be thinking about? I think more than anything, and I'm speaking from my relationship, I'm speaking from my parents' relationship, they're still very much together, still very much in love. I'm speaking from watching and observing a lot of my friends, because 15 years in, I'd say a good half, if not more than half of my friends who got married 15 years ago, or who've been married 12 years, together 12 years ago, about half of those are either divorced or well on their way.
Yeah.
More than half, actually. And it always goes back to, I think, communication, which we hear all the time. It's almost like a cliche, but it really is learning how to talk to each other, learning how to argue, learning how to disagree, especially when there are kids around, learning how to disagree in front of those kids or not, knowing when to be quiet, knowing when to shut up and have that conversation somewhere else another time. You just got to listen to her more than anything. And this is just my experience. I'm no expert on this, but just from, again, my experience, to just really listen to her, because you look back 10 years from now, 20 years ago, I'm not the person I was 5 years ago.
That's right.
She's not the person she was 5 years ago. The fundamentals are the same, but you're going to grow and you're going to evolve. So I think it's important just to listen to her, her likes and her wants and her dislikes and her, the things she needs now. The kids are growing.
Yeah.
So her time spent with those children is going to be different, which means that's going to affect where she is in her mindset. And everything's changing. And that's one thing that's constant is change, right?
So you have to...
It's important, I think, just to listen to the changes and what she needs. And vice versa. Hopefully that good woman's listening to you, too.
Well, I hope so. That's kind of how it all
That makes a good woman, too, to listen to you.
Now, Dr. Mishka, how important is communication and listening in developing a relationship with a good woman?
Communication is very important in developing a relationship, and research has shown communication tends to be one of those characteristics that's important throughout the life of any relationship. So initially it's very important as couples are getting to know each other that there's that communication, kind of learning, investigating each other's values and interests, beliefs about various things, but communication tends to be very...
Let me ask you a question, because I've always wondered about this. Is it something that, let's say you've met someone and you're dating for a week or month, whatever the case may be, if communication is a struggle, is that a sign that, hey, listen, maybe back off? Because, if you're not communicating up front, is that a sign that, 5, 10, 15 years from now, it's still going to be a problem?
Potentially, it could be. Often when couples initially get together, there's a high level of passion. Lots of physical attraction and desire for each other.
Does that make communication unnecessary?
There may be less of it, less important at that stage, but in order for the relationship to evolve, that next step needs to develop.
Okay, all right, then listen, we're going to take a break right now. When we come back, Blair is going to tell us about the perfect age to get married. You don't want to miss it. We'll see you right back here. Welcome back. We're going to cut now to Blair and I talking about the perfect age to get married and also what men need to do to keep the relationship going strong. He also is going to get into what to do if your wife or your woman is not a good woman. This is spectacular. Check this out. You didn't get married young, right? You're not like a 20.
I was an old man.
Well, yeah, you and I both. We're old men, okay?
No, I was 30. I was 30 when I got married.
There you go.
Yeah.
Any benefits you see to having waited and danced a little bit of life's dance before you?
Yeah, the fact that we're not talking about divorce right now. Because listen, man, I think if I'd gotten married 25, 26, 27, I don't know if I'd still be together myself with that person, because it would have been somebody else. I hadn't even met her.
You hadn't grown up yet.
Well, exactly. So, and also that comes from listening to a lot of wisdom before me, talking to people who had been married many years prior to when I got married, and they often said in different ways, but it all came down to get through your 20s, at least. If you had to nail it down to a number, just get through your 20s.
Get through your 20s.
And then by age 29, it turned out that I was ready by age 29. I ended up getting married a month after I turned 30.
Did you know you were ready? At that time, you're 29, I'm ready.
I knew at 29. Because I was close to 30.
Okay.
But I had said that, I think in my teens, I said, I don't care how nice it is, I'm not getting married before 30.
Because?
Because I want to make sure that I grow enough.
So you had a plan.
As a 20-year-old. I had a plan, yeah.
Okay. What ways do you think you need to evolve in the few years to come so that you keep the relationship going? What do you think? Okay, you got to move forward now. You're this good woman. You're listening. You're responding to what you hear, what you see, the changes are going on. Mm-hmm. Let's go forward now, 5, 10, 15, 20 years. What evolution do you think you have to go through such that you keep it going forward?
I think more of the same, but also one thing I didn't mention was just having that, being equally yoked with your faith.
Okay.
Having a faith in something higher and greater and bigger than you are.
Okay.
You know, whatever that is. I mean, I'm a Christian, we're Christians.
Okay.
So I think growing together spiritually is vital.
Okay.
Whatever your spiritual walk is, I think that's vital that you
Take
work
it together.
Take it together. Be equally yoked together in that journey.
Okay.
That and then just more of the same, really. I mean, I'm
listening.
Projecting.
Okay.
But again, listening to my parents and grandparents, that's the key. And that's why old folks always say, communicate. It's communication.
Okay,
now, the way you communicate with your wife will be different than the way I communicate
yell
with my
and scream
wife.
and stomp all the time.
Well, you know, if it works for you, Daryl, you got to keep on doing what you do.
That's right. I just rant and rave. I think that works. No, but you're right about that. I love seeing those older couples, 80, 85 years old, been married 56 years, who talk about how they listen. Like I listen that I talk right now. But that's okay. But they talk about how they listen and how, you're right, they're 80 years old and they say, well, I listen to my wife.
Right.
And you're right. It's more than just a mechanical listening.
Yeah, and also I think it has to be an inherent respect for that person, because the passion that you feel early on and the lust or all that early energy.
Did you feel that?
What, the lust?
I felt it once or twice.
Yeah, man. Well, you all still together, so we're gonna leave it alone then, as long as it's working for you. But I mean, that's going to change, and that's going to ebb, and that's going to flow, as you know.
Okay.
So, what I found is, if you respect that person, then you'll argue.
Okay.
In the proper way.
Okay.
If you respect that person, you're not going to say certain things in front of the kids. You'll take that off to a certain room.
Okay.
So that love, again, is going to ebb and flow.
Okay.
It's going to be heated sometimes. Right. It's going to be kind of cooled off. Sometimes you may just like that person.
Okay.
You may not be loving the person right now.
Okay.
But if you respect that person, I think that's almost as important, maybe more so in some ways, than the love.
Okay. All right, then. You give me a lot of homework to do. You know that.
Oh, man.
Dr. Mishka, when I was a young man, my father told me to make sure you marry a woman who respects you. I want to ask you about that now because Blair and I touched on it. What role does respect play in these relationships that work, that last?
Respect is a very important part of a good relationship. It's very important in the early stages of a relationship, and it's a factor that continues to be important in those relationships that tend to last 15, 20, 30, 40 years.
How is it shown? I mean, that's one thing I've always wrestled with. How does a woman show respect for this guy she's with? How does a guy show respect for the woman that he's with?
Taking interest in the person, valuing them, even if there may be something that you don't particularly agree with or not interested in. You know that it's important to your partner, accepting them for who they are, faults.
Now wait, okay. Now you got so just how far should you take that? Accepting people for what they are. Is there a point with which you say, you know what? No, we need to change, or we need to change together. You need to change. This ain't working. You're an alcoholic. I'm not going to accept that. How far does acceptance go?
Well, that's something each person needs to have an idea about prior to getting into a marriage. Okay. In years past, common reasons for divorces were cruelty, alcoholism, failure to support the family economically, financially. Nowadays, the common reasons are often no communication. We're just incompatible.
But we're both
like
still
that.
friends. Yes, if you're still friends, stay married. We are now in what I call the hot seat portion of the show. You're not sitting anywhere, but you're in a hot seat. What that means is that we've got two questions from the viewing audience. They sent us in. They want to ask you.
Okay.
And you've got 1 minute to answer each of the two.
All right.
And you have to answer. You don't get
1
to leave.
minute.
1 minute for each
All right,
of
so
them,
I
okay?
got clock
First
is
question.
ticking.
All right. Hot seat question number 1 from our audience. My woman is not a good woman. What can I do to create a great relationship with her?
She's not a good woman?
She's not a good woman.
Walk away.
What? Leave.
Walk away.
Walk away.
She's not a good woman, but walk away.
Walk away. Okay.
That's my advice.
That's your advice? Okay. Actually, I agree with you, and I think some of our staff and crew here would tell you that I've said that to them as well. Walk away. In fact, run. Because time is, you don't
It
get
also
to do
depends on what your definition is, but
Right.
if it's not working, why
working.
stay in it?
There are no do-overs, are there, in life? That's it.
Oh, there's some do-overs, but
Some do-overs, right? Some do-overs, right? Sadly so.
walk away.
Walk away. All right, then. Hot seat question number 2 from an audience. I am a good woman. How do I find a good man? Now, I think she might want to meet this guy, but that's another discussion. But go ahead. I am a good woman.
Look for question number 1.
That's right.
How do you find a good man?
And you're a good woman.
I don't know. I never look for good men, so I don't know.
Okay, that's personal choice, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
That's man. How do you find?
You found yours.
Yeah,
through
you know
life,
what? I
or
think. Yeah, I think more than anything, just find someone. You got to get to know them first of all, and
Okay.
find someone who clicks with you. Find
Okay.
someone who likes the things that you like. Find someone you're compatible with. I guess.
Okay. Well, as you did.
Right.
There you
exactly.
go. All right then. All right then. Well, thank you very much for being on the Family Digest show. You've been great.
All right,
being out
Daryl,
here on the
thank
street. Thank you very much. And to all of you, listen to what he says. I like it. I like it a lot. Thanks a lot, buddy.
All right, man.
When we come back, I'm going to tell you what all of this means for you. So hang around. Look forward to seeing you. I want to thank my guests, Blair Underwood and Dr. Mishka Scales, for helping me get to the bottom of today's topic, how to love a good woman. Dr. Mishka, thanks very much. Now, here's what's in it for you. Number 1, don't get married too early. Take time to learn about yourself, to smell the roses, to eat the grapes, to travel the world, to do all those exciting things so that when you find the one that's right for you, you can commit with no regrets. Number 2, write a list of the qualities you're looking for in your mate. Use that list, within reason, to determine if the person you're with, if the woman you're with, meets your needs as a man. And number 3, the key to loving a good woman is respect and communication. The good doctor made sure I knew that. And 4, understand that you and your mate are evolving. You have to grow with her and grow yourself to learn what's needed at different stages of the relationship. Very important. And finally, don't give up. Until next time, believe, think, act, win. Enjoy life. And speaking of enjoying life, if you and your family would like to have a chance to win a free, all-expense-paid vacation to a fabulous Florida destination, go to our website, FamilyDigestShow.com.
Would you like to be a guest on the Family Digest show? Do you have your own story of success in overcoming challenges? If so, we want you to send your story to the address below. We may select you to be a guest on the Family Digest show with Daryl Mobley.
Folks, you've been a great audience. Thank all of you for coming. Thanks all of you for sticking around and listening to this great show. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye now.
Thanks, Mom and Dad.
We love you too, kids.